Hello. We are back with more Illusion of Gaia. And, fun thing, multi-streaming to Twitch and YouTube, which is the first time I've been able to figure this out. So let's share this link out on socials and get going. We are part 8 already, if you can believe it. I can't. Okay. So please do let me know, in the comments or on Discord how this experience is. If it streams okay, I'm using Restream to send to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. So let me know, like, is the streaming quality okay? Do you have a preference between Twitch or YouTube? It's useful for me to know, like, where people are, how I'm reaching them, if it's a satisfying experience. Sharing this out on socials. Okay, here we go. And I will turn on my little live on YouTube thing on Blue Sky. I'm sure there's a way to there must be a way for me to do this quicker, not on air, but I don't know what that is. So this is what you get for now. Okay, but I am gonna start playing. Let's do this. So we're like maybe almost halfway through Illusion of Gaia, I would say. I think, hey, thanks Richard. I appreciate that. It is good to know that, it's working okay on the other end. I switched over to using Metal as my video processor from OpenGL, and it seems to be streaming way better, but I'm also getting a really choppy preview in OBS. So I'm always anxious that that's what the experience is like for everyone else. But yeah, so we're probably halfway through Illusion of Gaia at this point. We do have 2 of the statues, not out of 6, so maybe not quite halfway, but you don't get the first statue for quite a long time. So I would say, based on past experiences, we're looking at about halfway through. So Will says, "Oh, I feel a human presence in the room to the right." That would be his that would be straight ahead for him. But our right, I suppose. Oh, there's Kara. Says, "Will, where are you?" Is she flashing on I'm playing on a Super NT, and she's flickering. I think she's supposed to be transparent, but I don't have frame blending on. And so she's really flickery to me. Whereas on my preview, because she's probably flickering at 30 FPS, she appears solid. I'm curious to see what she looks like on stream. But I got a red jewel, which is good. Gotta keep them coming. Cool, yeah, good. Audio levels are good. I did have the music up too high a few streams ago, which is nice. Thanks, Richard. Nice and clean. Audio levels are good. Motion is coming in nice too. Good. I do have, my goal here is to try to run this at 60 FPS. I don't have my camera going that fast, but a lot of these old Super NES games did run nice and smooth, and it's a shame to miss out on that. Okay. Oh, I can hear a weak voice coming from somewhere. A mysterious voice. "Vampires live in this place. The fountain of blood in this palace produces demons one by one." If you'll recall, that, what is going on? So this skeleton here is frozen and flashing for me? Does that count as an enemy? No. So this skeleton too. Yeah, I hit them and they just start flashing for me. And now, yeah, he's just sitting there. It's bizarre. Yeah, so my direct feed, like I have my Super NT hooked in my capture card, and then, you know, just like straight into my monitor, and we're getting flashing there, but not on stream. That's strange. And then they just sit there. It's weird. The Fountain of Blood is on the lowest floor of the palace. There, with that stone, hurry. Now, of course, I am playing the fan translation patch. It does have some other tweaks. Oh, found Lily. Geez, don't surprise me. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest because of you know. She is not flashing, so she's real, not a ghost, I guess. We'll see. I happened to see Eric in the other room just a bit ago, but there was something strange. Since his body was half transparent, I could see through to the other side of the room. Even if I talked to him, it seemed like his soul was stolen, his entire consciousness gone. Let's see if I can turn on some frame blending for myself. 64-bit sprite tiles, mode 5 and 6 interlace, pseudo high-res blending. I have it on. Yeah, Richard, I've had a Super NT for a while, but honestly, for a long time, it was just sitting unused because I have my Super Nintendo hooked up to my tube TVs. And then, and I didn't really, and then I got a new TV in my living room, like a new 4K, but it's like upscaling of 1080p content. It's awful. So I couldn't really use the Super NT again until now that I've got this streaming setup going, this capture card. Now I can kind of utilize it for streaming, which is really nice. Yeah, I felt like it was there and then it wasn't. Absolutely. All of those analog products are hard to get your hands on. But this one I'm very happy to have because I do have like a large collection of original carts for the Super Nintendo, but you can also jailbreak it if that's your thing. Even if I talked to him, it seemed like his soul was stolen. His entire consciousness is gone. Anyhow, let's work together. After all, we don't know what's going on. So she turns into a flower. I'll borrow your pocket. All right. All right, let's go. I do think it's funny her name is Lily, but she turns into like a dandelion puff. I wonder what her name was in the Japanese version. Oh, I can hear a weak voice coming from somewhere. Mysterious voice. The purification stone in the coffin. I talk a lot about Illusion of Gaia having this like strong sense of melancholy that's so unusual in games, and I feel like this is such a good example of like the Palace of Mu. I don't know what to call it, but this part of the game is one of the ones that I really think of. You're in this sort of like empty underwater palace without much explanation. And then, you know, just this classic music that that plays is just so evocative of what I love about. What I love about Illusion of Gaia. So these skeletons again, even changing the pseudo high-res blending, they're just flashing on my end, which is strange. I don't even remember if they like were they there in the original version of Illusion of Gaia. Golden Sun, same vibes. Yeah, sort of that like I haven't played Golden Sun in a long time. Outside of like messing around with the first game a couple of times here and there whenever it gets re-released. But yeah, there's sort of that like, you know, like not dying Earth, but just this sense of like entropy, I guess, in both of them. Oh, I feel a human presence from the room to the left. My left? Or his left? Okay, here's Eric. Where is this? It's bleak. It's lonely. Mom, help me. I had seen that treasure chest, and I did want to get it. I'll send both of these jewels back. It's nice you can send them as in bunches. Bleak is a good word, Richard says in chat. Yeah, and that, like you say, that it's sad, but there's that whimsical element to the game as well, which is just so unique. It does take the edge off a bit, and also makes the parts of the game that deal with, you know, like heartbreak or the tragedy that, you know, Will kind of faces, the trauma Will faces from his father's disappearance and stuff, just hit that much harder. And you just don't get that. You know, like I would say, you know, of similar or of recent games, like something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sort of gets that balance between big storytelling with, you know, humor and levity. But even then, it's like more like melodramatic than like melancholy, I think. You know, Richard in chat mentions Undertale. I have played Undertale a bit. I play a few hours and then I just bounce off it for some reason, and I know that's bad. I know that it's like, it's obviously popular. It seems, you know, like on the package, like it should be as like totally an Aidan game. But I think I feel, because I got to it a little late, and I think I just feel the pressure of, you know, like hitting a perfect pacifist run first time through. Like I feel like I'm doing it wrong every time I play. And then I just get that like sense of like anxiety that like I'm messing up, which I know is silly. And it's like, it's almost just like I know a bit too much about Undertale, and need to figure out how to get past that. So Will says, isn't there an opening in the coffin? Lily started talking from Will's pocket, and Will says, Lily says, wait a moment, this coffin doesn't open. I can open it if I go into the hole. Shall I take a look? Lily says, that's strange. There's a lock inside this coffin. No wonder it doesn't open, huh? There's a lock inside. What does that suggest? Yes, and Richard, like in chat, saying, like, isn't that the best part of video games? Like, there's so many of them that you don't have to love every single one. You can have your favorites. That's okay. And that, like, absolutely. And I think, like, sometimes as somebody who, you know, makes a lot of video game related, you know, reviews and features and videos and podcast appearances and stuff, I want to have experience. I want to be able to speak to everything that like is culturally important, and sometimes it takes me a little while to get there. Like with Hollow Knight, I just played through Hollow Knight for the first time and ended up loving it after putting it off for whatever 7 years, and that was really refreshing. And it does feel good to be like, oh, I finally get this, but at the same time, you know, at a point it's okay to say this just wasn't for me, because not all like art very intrinsically is not for everybody. It's going to hit some people differently than others, and that's okay, right? That's good. That means it's good. It's taking risks, it's expressing emotion, and it's the same for video games. So there was a lock inside the coffin, which of course is very strange, because why would there be a lock inside a coffin? That just seems sus. I discovered this weird rock in the coffin. I got the purification stone. And so this will be something that goes in a big pool that needs to be purified. I remember that much. As we can see, there are now enemies. It's pretty like sparse though, in terms of like enemy density, compared to other dungeons and stuff, which I do like. It gets denser as we get deeper on, but for now it's pretty light. If you haven't like watched previous parts of the stream as well. I think it's worth noting that like this retranslation project that I'm playing, it has retranslated text, but it also has a ton of optional like quality of life improvements, graphical tweaks, restoration of like graphics from the Japanese version. One of them you can see down in the bottom corner here on the map, that you can see the coordinates where I am. Doesn't really do anything, but it's in there. The other one too is if I have an equipped item, you can see up in the top between the hearts and the little orbs I've collected, you can see what item you have equipped now, stuff like that. Stacking of herbs. So like normally if I had 7 herbs and I have 16 inventory slots, that would be taking up half of my inventory almost. And so we just have little improvements like that honestly for me have been more effective and like more rewarding than the actual retranslation, which I think still needs a fair bit of work. But the quality of life stuff is just like is great. Lance says ugh. Neil also ung. Held up purification. So no, I gotta take that off. Oh, don't want to discard anything. Okay. Oh wait. There we go. These slimes keep coming back. Oh no, there's more of them now. Okay. I see. So yeah, so noting earlier that like there was a lower density of enemies in this dungeon compared to the rest of the game, but obviously as I get deeper and like there's cutscene here, but you could see as I got deeper, like the water outside the window kept getting darker and darker and darker, which is a great little touch. Lily says, it's a fountain made of blood. I wonder if this is somehow related to that rock we just picked up. Before I do that, but I just want to point out there, like if you look outside the window, there it is quite dark, and we'll head up the stairs for a sec, and you can see it's getting lighter, less like corally. These enemies just keep respawning, which is not a thing that typically happens in Illusion of Gaia. But I do want to go up just like one more set of stairs so we can kind of really see there's no window in here, really see the effect of the windows like getting lighter. So you can see it's like really light now, and obviously that's just like a background tile that like they made darker as it goes down, but it's still cool to see. Good little effect as you're getting deeper and deeper underwater. I talk about this a lot, but I'm just like really impressed with the way that Illusion of Gaia had so many interesting like environmental ideas and tricks for a game that came out in 1993. A year after something like Final Fantasy IV, which is a nice enough looking game, but Illusion of Gaia just like I feel like has so many ideas and big chunky graphics, and like really wanted to explore the strength of the Super Nintendo so early on. Okay, so this is a pool of blood. Must be old blood because it's like brown. But I need to use the purification stone that I found in a locked coffin. The stone grew brighter and immediately disappeared into the fountain. It's not the same stone. So, there. The water is now nice and blue. So I guess it was blood and it turned it into water. That is one I expect is maybe like a translation thing, where it probably wasn't blood in Japanese. It's just like contaminated or whatever. Or maybe they just removed all the like blood cells and left the water from the water blood. You saved me, boy. Thank you. They brought me to this place from Phrygia and turned me into a demon. Lily speaks from inside your pocket. What? So the demons that we were seeing just now were humans? So all those gobs, those goos, I guess, were the people of Mu that had been transformed. And when I cleansed the blood fountain, they turned back into humans. I got a taste of what it's like to die just now. Having an experience even that close to death is a terrifying thing. It isn't your fault because you didn't know what was going on, but I wonder if the animals we eat for food also feel that sensation. That, of course, becomes relevant later on in Illusion of Gaia, because there is a animal that gets eaten for food. We were originally slave merchants arrested for the crime of human trafficking, but a damned group of bureaucrats sold us off to vampires. I still can't believe it. Okay. Good grief, a beautiful woman invited me here and I ended up in this fantastic mess. A handsome man asked me to come, so I came here. I still can't believe men. So people getting catfished into coming to underwater palace place. There's no doubt about it. Vampires sleep and wake in these coffins. Those bastards are planning things too horrible to imagine. All right. One of the things I've talked about how I'm not particularly keen on this new localization, and I do think in many ways it's an improvement upon the original, which was not great. There's more coherency, especially in terms of like just framing the story, providing structure and motive for what's happening. Like I've never understood what happens in Illusion of Gaia overall, but in this one it's a lot more clear. But I think that there's something missing from sort of just like what I would see in a polish and a punch-up pass. And so, that slave trader using really casually structured language in a way that doesn't necessarily match up with the way other people are speaking, which is, like just another level I think that localization can kind of go to, that this translation will hopefully get to if they continue to work on it, because they've pushed out a ton of updates. A vampire husband and wife couple live in this palace. You also just get like weird like passive language and clunky language, like this sentence. Like that's not really the way people would speak. Husband and wife and couple are redundant. And also describing them by like domestic terms also seems like a weird choice to me. And I think there are ways that you like maybe that's very literal, but come through and revise it in a way that like articulates the ideas, but in a way that would be spoken by, a random guy who got trapped here by some vampires and gets lost. Like there are ways to make that feel more authentic, I think. Humans are brought here from all over and transformed into demons to be used as a workforce. The palace is tied to the fantastical grounds of the continent of Mu. The vampire couple seems to be searching for something there. Imagine if you were one step later in rescuing us from being transformed into demons. I don't know, man. Like you're a slave trader in like a crazy cloak. We live in stone or glass houses. I was eavesdropping on the vampire couple talking. It seems like a puppet called a mystic statue or something like that is sleeping at the continent of Mu. This is, I would say, another good example of, how you just get kind of clunky dialogue. That could just use polish and punch up pass. It seems like a puppet called a mystic statue or something like that is sleeping at the continent of Mu. I don't understand the use of the word puppet. I think mystic statue being capitalized doesn't make sense, even though they're called mystic statues. She wouldn't be using that as like proper nouns. You know, and the statue is sleeping when, is it a puppet or is it a statue? Is it something that's sentient and can sleep? It just seems like weird information for just somebody random to be conveying to Will in that way. And, you know, maybe I'm holding a Super Nintendo translation up to too high of standards, but, you know, as somebody with a background in writing, I do think it's interesting to see how we can approach stuff like this to, you know, apply good, you know, good writing across any sort of medium. When you're translating something, there's, you know, like, obviously there are divisive ideas of how to approach translation as, you know, as a tool, but you know, I do believe that it's very important that we, you know, take the original intent and try to convey that in a way that, as close as possible, leads to players in the new language experiencing it the same way, having the same experiences and emotions and feelings as people who played it in the native language. And I think that one way you do that is by making sure that you have, you know, language that is, you know, written in a way that conveys emotion most effectively. And there's a lot of instances in this where, you know, it conveys information more effectively from sort of a baseline level as the original translation, but maybe without some of the other elements of communication, in the way that people speak and word choices, in the way that, you know, we communicate about a vampire couple. There are just ways that, you know, we can punch that up to make it more effective and believable, more immersive. It seems like there's a passage that leads to the continent of Mu at the highest floor of the palace. So it's just like the Ocean Palace. I keep calling it Mu, but I guess it's not technically Mu. I'm definitely lost, though. What will happen to everyone who is abducted and brought to this palace? What should we do after being left in the middle of the sea like this? So, like, the purpose here, too, of saving all of these people is just to get this information, this knowledge, I suppose. I'm not really sure what, you know, cleansing that that pool did in terms of allowing me to progress other than that, but who knows. Okay, where are we at? How long have we been streaming for? What time is it? Half an hour? Oh, okay, I got time. I do these streams on my lunch break, as I often mention, and that means I usually have about 45 minutes or so. So I would say we're, you know, halfway, or not halfway, but 2/3 of the way through. This seems like the highest level, but I can't get through there. You can really see the impact of, like, that brightening background. Now we're at the top of the palace, and you can see, like, you know, really light blues. You can see the sun shining through, like, very effective. Okay, so I need to get to the top of the palace, which apparently was not that spot I was just at. I did warn everybody that I do typically get lost here every single time I play the game. And it doesn't really help that there's not a lot of, like, instruction. It seems like there's a passage that leads to the continent of Mu at the highest floor of the palace. I must have to go down and then come up a different way, I suppose, because this is as high as it gets right here, but I obviously can't get through this door unless I, like, oh yeah, I can't even attack. Okay, so let's go down and then see if we can come up a different way. I'm also, like, I've been searching and trying to, like, get into every room and make sure that I'm not missing any red jewels or anything like that. So now I've kind of gotten myself a little twisted up, a little confused, but that's okay. What does she say? Palace is tied to the fantastical grounds of the continent of Mu. The vampire couple seems to be searching for something there. Oh yeah, vampire husband and wife guy. Vampire wife guy. Okay, so now I'm going down. This goes back up to the vampire beds, right? Okay. Okay, these guys, the handsome people, getting catfished. That's just a red gem. Let's see. This is about as low as it gets, I think, right? Like, we're basically back at that pool of blood place. Yeah. This is so gross, all these gross vines. Not a fan. Okay, so we're down at the bottom. It doesn't really seem like there is an alternate path. Like an alternate, like, pillar or whatever to go up. It doesn't really... So this just says they're vampires, and it's horrible to imagine what they've been doing. And there's 3 of them. And I found the purification stone in there. Let's go up the big stairs. And this looks... So that door at the very top that we found looks like one of these, but it's closed. And I haven't found, like, a way to trigger it opening. Let's go up here. See what we're working with. Okay. So there is, like, the save spot near that upper floor. I snatched a key from the vampire woman. Bring it with you. Okay, here we go. This is what I missed. This random guy. I like... The other thing about, like, and now, I don't know if this is a localization thing. I don't know if this is, like, originally what the script was like. But, like, how did that random guy just snatch a key off the vampire lady? Like, that doesn't make sense. And that's somewhere where I feel like there's maybe a little bit of room. For some, you know, just to provide some context. I get that you have one text box. I get that, you know, English is a verbose language compared to the original Japanese text. But how can we make it feel a little bit more, like, authentic? Maybe that's just giving that guy, you know, a different voice. Something like that, but we'll see. So I should be able to open this now with this key. Palace key opens passageway to the continent of Mu. Tried using the palace key. The key made an eerie sound as it turned. Lily begins to speak from your pocket. The passage ahead of here leads to the fantastic continent of Mu, right? There we go. Lily begins to speak from your pocket. It's a long passage, huh? I wonder if this really goes on to the continent of Mu. Wasn't that long. Here we go. Okay. Lily and I set foot upon the continent of Mu. Would the continent that was awoken from numerous millennia of sleep welcome us? Okay. I do like these statue guys. They're funny. So Mu is one of the... I always remember it being one of the bigger, longer dungeons in the game. We'll see if that kind of holds up. I also typically have trouble remembering where to go. But what we'll do here now, we're at... I've got about 10 minutes left. So we'll kind of like start looking for the next save spot. And see where we're at that point. I love the water motif here. I love the look of the... like just the like it's not even a filter, but like I love the look of the like treasure chest underwater. Like that's just such a like sick effect. To have that sort of distortion, the rolling waves, it just looks really good. These little barnacle guys. I just think this is a cool looking dungeon. You also have like all of these, you know, kind of like earth tony kind of colors, which, you know, earth tones are obviously common in a lot of games and not, you know, not even uncommon in this game, but It just has that kind of red or like a blue and green-ish feel of like a coastal environment, which I really like. Down here, you can see there's a little divot out of the wall, and I can't get through it now, but that will be something I'm able to do shortly, and that becomes a big part of navigating this dungeon. All right. As you can probably guess from looking at, you know, this dungeon, I was talking earlier about the treasure chests underwater, but being able to get to that underwater area becomes also a big kind of puzzle-solving aspect of this dungeon. Having to drain out the water so that I can access lower areas. Okay. Oh, these guys are such a pain. Teleporting wizards. Has anyone ever enjoyed them in games? I played Vagrant Story last year, which I loved, but it has like the ghosts, and they're like so hard. They're like so irritating. And they're basically like teleporting wizards. Okay. Empty biscuits. These things are funny too. These. Boom, boom. As you can see, if I run into those, they kind of make me go faster, which will become important as well. And I like, you know, Illusion of Gaia as